Welcome to Fringe Investigations, a podcast exploring topics on the fringe of this reality, including cryptids, paranormal, parascience, UFOs, conspiracies, and other unconventional phenomena. This is a collaborative effort between the Asheville Cryptid Society, me, the Cryptid Guy, and M&D Paranormal, sponsored by the Asheville Masonic Temple in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. If you would like to share a paranormal story, or you have evidence, or if you're interested in being a guest on our show, please contact us at 828-782-3766 or 828-484-1637. Our email address is ashevillecryptidsociety@gmail.com or mndparanormal@gmail.com. Welcome to Fringe Investigations. My name is the Cryptid Guy, and with me as always are Tiny and Slim. And tonight, what we're going to do, my friends, is give you a little bio on each of us. That way you'll understand why we do what we do and what end result we're looking for. I was sitting at home thinking about how it all kind of started for me. The first major episode that involved the cryptid in my life happened when I was about 5 years old. I was walking in the woods with my grandfather. I'm from northern Appalachia. And it had been raining for a couple days, so I was kind of like antsy, and I couldn't wait to get outside. And my grandparents used to come over every Saturday and have dinner. So I was walking in the woods with my grandfather, and we were probably in maybe a mile and a half. And I looked down at the ground, and I saw this massive footprint. It was a barefoot footprint, but I remember how big it was because I remember, I was a 5-year-old kid. Anyone's going to have a bigger foot than me, but I remember putting my foot next to it, and it was so much bigger than, say, like, my dad's footprint or my uncle's footprint or my grandfather's footprint. It was huge. It was probably 19, 20 inches. Wow. Probably about 11 inches wide. The thing that really spooked me about this whole incident was my grandfather looked at it, and he freaked out. Like, he actually looked shocked. He was actually scared. There's a whole lot of folklore in my family. Some of it's complete ridiculousness, and some of it's true. But the grandfather stories are always true because, my grandfather was a pilot in World War II. He'd been shot down, I think, 3 or 4 times. He was a highly decorated man, and he never spoke about it, did not ever talk about anything. And when he got back from World War II, apparently he just disappeared in Alaska for a year. I guess that was his way of coping with the horrors that he'd seen. Because when he came back to Boston, he met my grandmother, and boom, the rest is history. But I never ever remember my grandfather being scared of anything except for this one incident. It wasn't fear. It was like kind of like anger. I don't know if that makes sense because he had this look in his eyes like he was ticked. We went back to my parents' house, and we got there at a pretty good clip. I mean, we were hustling. And my dad was sitting on the couch in the living room with his brother, and they were having a couple beers. And my grandfather went over to both of them and grabbed them, and he starts talking to them about the boss of the woods being near the house, and the kids shouldn't go out, and there's a safety issue now. And he starts asking my dad, what caliber weapons does he have? He actually thumped my dad in the back of the head. I remember that as plain as anything because I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen because my old man used to thump me in the back of the head like little, and I watched my grandfather do it to my dad and my uncle. So it was just, I remember laughing at that. And my grandfather, he goes, come here, you're coming with me. And we got in his car, and he had this big old Ford Galaxy, and we went right to his house. I went upstairs with him in his closet, and he's got me carrying all these guns. And we go back downstairs, back in the Galaxy, back to my parents' house, and he's like giving my dad all these guns. And my dad's like, Dad, I don't need them, blah, blah, blah. He goes, you take them, you never know what you're going to need out there. I'm telling you, that thing's out there. They had like a little private session where my sister and I and my cousins were escorted out and told to go play in the front yard, but don't leave the front yard. And then, the kids went to bed. Now, something must have happened that night. And I don't know what it was. I was asleep. But something must have happened because when my dad woke up, get ready to go to work, he actually got up earlier. He got dressed. He had like this old denim coat. He put that on, and he grabbed a 12-gauge shotgun. And the second he opened the door, he racked one in the chamber, and I watched him walk outside in front of the entire house. He walked the whole perimeter of the house. He went behind both barns. He went behind where the dog's run was. He came back. He went down the yard again. And then right about halfway, he just fired 2 off in the air. Boom, boom. No idea why.
So this is a guy who sounds like a boss himself. And I've heard a couple more stories about your grandfather. He was a boss.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's calling something else this boss of the woods.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And this is my dad. My dad was a very, if I don't see it, it ain't real, blah, blah, blah. This exact routine kept going on for, I want to say, well, all of summer and probably up till it started snowing. I remember going with him on an errand just to buy more ammunition because he had shot all the 12. And, I'm 5 years old. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what the boss of the woods are. My old man, for him to do something like that, something had spooked him. So I'm just imagining, or I'm guessing he had seen something or encountered something. Probably what I'm guessing is my grandfather probably took him and my uncle in the woods and showed him the footprint. That's what I'm guessing, but I don't know. I never got to ask him. My grandfather died about a year after that, and I never got to ask him about any of his experiences in Alaska or what his encounters with the boss of the woods were over there and how he knew what it was. This isn't this is in Appalachia now. This isn't in Alaska. After hearing that and remembering that, when people say, this is only in the Pacific Northwest or something like that, Bigfoot and cryptids, they're everywhere. They're not just in one local area. That kind of reinforced that with me. And the other significant encounter I had was about 9 years ago. I was driving. To be honest with you, I got a little lost on the Blue Ridge Parkway, which can be easily done. My wife had fallen asleep in the front seat, and we were just driving. And I looked down the embankment, and I thought at first it was this huge bear. I kind of slowed down to about 5 miles an hour, and I remember just looking. I can only describe it as seeing a werewolf. It had these piercing greenish yellow eyes, and it was alert. It was looking at everything. Like, he was on. Like, nothing was going to get past this guy. I mean, you could just tell. And he was just massive. It was black. I didn't see its legs, but it was sitting on this huge rock, and it had its arms in front of it. It was just like sitting like a dog would. But it was just so massive. I just couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. And as I'm looking at it, it locked eyes with me for like a second or two. And then it just turned its head and just looked, like it could have cared less that I was there and seeing it. It just did not care. I was about as important to him as like a mosquito buzzing by. He just could have cared less, and I just kept driving. And I remember thinking to myself, did I just see that? Not only did I see, what did I see? Because werewolves can't be real, so what is this thing? And then you have, this whole dichotomy in your head of what's going on. Am I going crazy? Did I really see that? Am I misidentifying something? And then I remember thinking, and I even remember thinking, even when I look back at it to this day, I have to be honest, it was a terrifying incident, but the only reason why I was terrified is simply because I'm seeing something that's not supposed to exist. And I have to think of it this way too. If that creature had wanted to do me harm, there isn't a doubt in my mind it could have jumped up, knocked my little Honda off the road, ripped the door out, and done whatever it wanted to do. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever. So, when people have these reports about, they call Dogman the crypto terrorist and all this other stuff, I can understand why. But the other thing I look at is maybe they're not as nasty as everyone makes them out to be. Maybe there's a lot more going on upstairs than what we think with these creatures. And that's just kind of why I have the mindset I have today. It's like, there's a reason for everything. Everything's got a reason, that kind of thing. And I think most cryptids have some kind of cognitive ability. And, supernatural aside, it's my belief that most of these cryptids that we see are organic creatures. They're just undiscovered or undocumented. And that's kind of why I'm in this particular field now and why I want to help people that have seen these creatures, because I totally get it. I understand. When you see something like that, that sticks with you. I mean, it's been 9 years, and I'm thinking about it now. I'm still looking at the hair on my arms go up. It's not out of fear because I wasn't scared of it as a being. I was scared because it's real. It's a living thing, and it's staring at me. And apparently, I'm not that interesting because it just looked away.
And that's a classic reaction, though, is this disbelief because it just doesn't make sense. It does not.
Sense. And again, it's like I even think about the way my old man reacted. He didn't want to hear it. He's like, "Get out of here, you're insane. There's nothing." We had some wolves when I was a kid. That was the only thing I ever remember. We had some wolves every once in a great while that would come in from the Appalachian Mountains and just That wasn't even much of a big deal. The worst thing he did was knock over our trash cans, and then I had to go clean that up.
And now you've been doing cryptid investigations for what, like 20 years?
Almost 25 years.
Yeah.
In some form or another. I've probably investigated every state, definitely on the eastern continental United States, parts of Canada, Ohio, Nevada, Texas, a lot of Florida, a lot of Georgia. Florida, there's one or two spots, in my opinion, that we're going to get definite proof of a Sasquatch or Bigfoot, and I think it's either going to be Florida or Maine.
Really? Florida? I wouldn't have called that one.
Florida, the skunk ape, the sightings down there are just getting incredible. There's so much evidence down there. There's so many people investigating right now. And the other thing you have to look at with Florida, the population is really booming down there. So I think that's going to have an effect. And I think we're actually going to see that effect in the cryptozoological world where we're going to have evidence. There's a dogman sightings down there, constant. So it's a hot spot. So I think, if I was a bet man, which I am a little bit, I'd say either Florida or Maine. Here's why I don't think it's going to be on the West Coast, because the West Coast is so calm about it. They've had so much more time to relax and to, Bigfoot's part of the culture. You go anywhere in Colorado, Washington State, that whole area, it's all part of the culture. So my money's on either, I'd say probably Florida first, Maine, and then maybe Louisiana or Texas, that area. That's where we're going to find, that's where there's going to have irrefutable proof. And I'm dying to see how that gets debunked, but we'll that's another podcast. Tiny, you've had an incredible life. What motivates you to do what you do?
Furry things and ghosts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I grew up in what a lot of people call a power place in eastern Tennessee. It was a special place out in the middle of nowhere. Those experiences, they were positive for me. They led me down this path to where I've met so many eclectic people, experienced so many eclectic things, and still keep progressing in that direction. Not everybody has good experiences, though. What I really want to do is help those people. Give them a place to turn. Let them know that they're not necessarily crazy.
What one event or sighting or experience that you had when you were younger sent you down this incredible path in the paranormal and the cryptid world? And not only an incredible path, a path where you have actually been a trailblazer in many, many aspects paranormally. What set you on this path, Tony?
It's really hard to narrow it down to just one experience. But I'll be happy to relate one. It began one night when my parents, being a married couple, got in an argument. My dad was asleep in her bedroom. My mom got mad and said, well, I'm going to sleep on the couch. So that's what she did. The way the rooms were laid out was my bedroom and the bathroom were between the two. I had gotten up some point through the night, went to the bathroom, doing my business. I hear my mom. She says, Daniel, did you just go in your room? I said, no, I'm still in the bathroom. And, of course, she asked me, she said, are you sure? To which I looked around and made sure I was still looking at the bathtub and the toilet. And
That's
I said,
a weird
yeah.
question.
I said, yeah, I'm sure. She said, okay. Well, come to find out the next day what had happened, she had saw what we would now call a shadow man. I didn't know this back then. This was just the beginning for me. It had walked out of my room, looked at her, dropped its head, looked at the floor, shook its head, walked back into my room. Now, one of the odd things about it was she said you could see the hallway light behind and through the head. At the time, I'm a fair-sized fella now, but at the time, I wasn't tall enough to block that light. I am now.
You can block the sun now.
Yeah, well, it's because I'm so light. I reflect it. Radiant.
Opaque.
It's my favorite color. But I could block it now. And then I couldn't. And she vaguely, or not vaguely, but she really remembers being able to see the light through the head of this thing. And at the time, I was learning astral projection, things like that, and it often makes me wonder what people do. I wish, they could have changed. I wonder sometimes if it weren't me that went back. or if it was just something that was there, because this was a power place. So many things happen. That's what set me on this path. I've met so many great people doing it, and I want to continue. It's not even about proving it's real. If I had definitive proof, I don't know that I would really share it with them. I just want to know.
I agree with you, because honestly, I think you and I have had discussions where we've talked about getting like definitive proof that, say, Bigfoot's real. I don't think we'd tell more than 3 people for several reasons, but one, I would be afraid of what would happen to that whole species.
Yeah.
If everyone knew there was definitive proof they're out there, we could be responsible for literally ending them. And
I do what I do more for me and the people I care about. And
you're very good at it, because I've seen you in action several times.
Well, thank you.
And if I may, there was just a recent episode, I'm not going to give any specifics away, but there was a whole lot of people with a whole lot of worries. And Tiny and company went and, free of charge, I might add, took care of a whole lot of problems and made a whole lot of people feel a lot better about the situation they were in.
Yeah, that was
and that's what he does. So when people think, oh, hey, these guys are all just a bunch of con artists, or they're crazy, or things like that, the truth of the matter is we try to actually help people, and we expect nothing in return. And I think that's why you and I and Slim have that bond, is because we all feel the same way.
Well, and that's the same reason that we hold the gatherings at our shop.
Right.
There should be a place where people, there's still a stigma connected with all of this. And that's part of what I
there always will be. It's paranormal.
There shouldn't be that stigma, but there is. And it's okay, but that's part of what I want to fight with our gatherings, with this podcast, with everything. I want to give people that place to go. And sometimes you have an experience, and I think we can all kind of speak to this, but you have an experience that almost gives you PTSD symptoms. And you can't talk to anybody about it, because people are going to go, well, you need some meds. And that's not necessarily the case. You need a place to go. You need a place to talk. And that's what we're trying to provide.
And you're providing it, and you're doing a great job. Slim is affectionately known as the woo-woo kid in our little trifecta organization here.
I actually Googled woo-woo. And we are using it correctly.
We are using it. I Googled that myself.
I told you.
I haven't spelt it right.
Yeah.
I told you.
I was going to use 3 O's. And Slim has had an incredible life. She's been all over the place. She's done all kinds of things. But my feeling is, Slim, that there was 1 or 2 experiences that pushed you in the specific lifestyle you're in now. So if you would like to explain one of those for us, I want to hear it.
Definitely. What really kind of got me going was I started having these experiences before I learned about what exactly they were. I went to this one section of woods quite a bit. I had just quit my job. I had a lot of free time. So I was out there, and I just started noticing all this weird stuff that I couldn't explain. I'd taken wilderness tracking classes and wilderness survival classes growing up. I was a weird kid. So I knew what was normal and what wasn't. And these things just kept drawing my attention. So much so that I kind of thought I was going a little crazy. To kind of verify it for myself, I started taking pictures of them. Because I said, you know what, I didn't show them to anybody. I just wanted to prove to myself later that there was something happening. So I do that for a couple months, and I actually go out, and I'm out in Colorado interviewing for a job. And it was kind of an intense interview process, because it was with a nonprofit. It had to do with taking people out hiking and taking care of them while they're camping. So I'm out hiking in this woods with the gentleman I was interviewing with. We see this giant stick sign. I mean, it was 2 huge trees, and they're woven, and it's right over the path, and I'm freaking out inside. I'm like, oh my gosh, but I didn't want to say anything, because I didn't want to look weird in front of this guy. I didn't want to seem crazy. So I just kind of took a mental note, and I saw him look at it too, out of the corner of his eye, but he didn't say anything either. So when we get back and we're kind of debriefing at dinner, and he turns aside to his assistant and he goes, oh, we got to go back and take a picture. There's this amazing stick glyph.
Now, Slim, let me interrupt you right here.
Yeah.
Just because I want people to realize what an experienced outdoors person you are. How many days were you out in the woods for this training?
I did a 4-day solo.
All right. So you're out there 4 days. You see the stick glyphs going out, and on your way back in,
Yep.
You see him again, and then he makes the comment to go take a picture.
Yep.
I just want to give people a time frame here. Of people, he have to realize that Slim is just such an experienced wood person that it's ridiculous the amount of training she's had. So when she starts talking about like going in the woods, it's not for like day hikes. It's sometimes weeks, months at a time. So I just wanted to make sure people understood that when they're hearing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I live in the forest. I live on a mountain now. When he said that, I had to call him out. I was like, okay, you saw that? What's going on? I've been seeing these things. What do they mean? What's a stick glyph? He was a little hesitant to start telling me because it wasn't something, you openly just start a random conversation about.
Stigma.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like what you're saying earlier, it's got to be a personal experience. I haven't met a single person that's like, oh, I've seen enough evidence that's convinced me that this is true. It's like, no. You have to go out and either have your own experience or your own evidence, and that's what kind of leads you down the path to want more. So anyway, turns out, got the job and was in Colorado for almost a year, out in the woods, living on that land. For those who are in the know, it was in the San Luis Valley of Colorado.
Very active area for many different things.
So you could say I had a intense education of all things and had lots of experiences and got to speak to a lot of well-known names and great minds about this stuff, and have since come to Asheville and continued doing much of the same.
And we are very, very lucky and fortunate that you are here, Slim. The fact that we all came together as a group was actually kind of an anomaly too. I was doing a symposium, as I like to call them, at REI. And Tiny and I, we had been doing investigations together, and we were pretty solidified as a group. And then, lo and behold, enter Slim. And we started talking, and there were some questions she had, and the next thing we know, she's part of our team, and she became an intricate part of our team. I can honestly say that we would probably not be where we are today had it not been for Slim. What say you, Tiny?
Everything falls into place for a reason.
I agree.
Totally.
Without doubt. And since this is an intro podcast and we're letting everybody know a little bit about us, I feel like that we should say that Cryptid Guy here and myself, we both have backgrounds in psych, long backgrounds in psychology, doing different things. I myself have been through elder care, substance abuse, dual diagnosis, IDD, things like that. I'll let him speak to his experience. And Slim, she's at Woodland Elf, I believe.
Slim is actually incredibly educated, brilliant, except when she debates me, she's always wrong. But that said, I think everyone here has an education level that puts us at the perimeter of where you could say we're not crazy when we talk about what we talk about. We use the scientific method. I'd say for the most part we're debunkers, to be honest. But I mean, that's classify. If we're going to classify ourselves, I'd say 99% of the time we're debunking something.
Well, that's the first thing you have to do on any investigation, whether it be paranormal or cryptid or anything else. You have to go in and look for logical explanations.
Exactly.
Well, and you guys are coming in with the psych, which by its nature is pragmatic, and I'm coming from a philosophy perspective, which is foundationed in logic. So
exactly, and that's why it works.
And that's also why we want to give people a safe place to go. We understand the effects, the mental and emotional effects that having an experience can give. Now, I've not had quite as serious an experience as you have, cryptid-wise, but I've had more paranormal experiences than I can relate in 2 or 3 shows, probably.
Well, I think you're a magnet for the paranormal because every time I end up doing something paranormally with you, my friends, I'm not much of a paranormal guy. I'm definitely more of a cryptid guy. That's even, says it in the name. But when Tiny, has an investigation, I do know my way around an e-meter. I've done paranormal stuff in the past, and if Tiny needs help, I'm more than happy to help out. But it's like every time Tiny gets a call for help, he's there, his team's there. And they do whatever it takes. They do the amount of research Tiny does and his organization do are incredible. It is incredible. So when he goes into a place, he also knows when the building was built, who lived there, for how long of a period of time, was there any crimes committed there, all this stuff. All this hard work is put into these investigations, and he does that specifically because he wants to make sure he knows what he's getting into. And when you do research like that, correct me if I'm wrong, Tiny, you have a better idea of knowing what you're against.
Certainly. Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment? So, I mean, again, it just boils down to how we use the scientific method, and we use logic, and we use research in all our endeavors. And I think that's one of the most important things you can do, because especially in our realm of, cryptid and paranormal investigations, you're right, there's a stigma. Those people are crazy. They're just trying to make money off other people. They're con artists. There isn't one piece of evidence we don't take or collect where we're not afraid to show it. So I think that's what makes us a little different than most people.
When we go in and do an investigation, a client's confidentiality is very, very important to us. If a client says, I don't want anybody to know we're here, they never know we're here. We just had one that I didn't even drive my truck because I have the logo on it. Mm-hmm. So some of that evidence, I have some great evidence that I can't share, but that's for confidentiality purposes.
Even more on the paranormal field and then in the cryptid field, if people were more honest about the evidence they've collected, I think we would be more respectable as a group.
I can agree.
And I'm grouping everyone together as paranormal investigators, cryptid investigators, because it is a science. And I really believe that. And you have to be scientifically minded to do this. I mean, a lot of people, I love it. They go out there with the ghost meters, they get a reading. Oh, look, there's ghosts. But that's not even a million percentile of it. That's nothing. I mean, you go by the wrong power cord, you can set that up. Exactly. So it takes research, it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a lot of patience too. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it takes patience.
It's like fishing.
I have to agree with you on the M&D investigations, because I've had the privilege to join you on a couple of those, and those are phenomenal. And just the amount of equipment and thought process that goes into all that, and for that matter, the cryptid investigations too. I mean, I spent a lot of time out in the woods before we made this team, and the cryptid investigations that we went on were top notch. C knows the forest around here really well, and also has been doing cryptid research for so long that he's picking up on all kinds of signs and was able to lead us off trail, miles into the woods, following these kind of signs that even I was having trouble noticing, and walks us right into this amazing spot, which I know we'll share that story at a later podcast. I'm still kind of riddling out how you put that together, so he's got some kind of spidey sense going on.
I do my research, and the truth of the matter is, you're only as good as your team. And that's why I have said this since the day we all started working together, that I feel so lucky to have you guys, not as just, you're family to me. And I honestly think everything happens for a reason. It's for the betterment of people, in science. I think we can do something. I really hope we can. And that's what this podcast is about. We want to help people.
Well, that's why we have the eclectic shop in Marion is so that we can supplement what we really want to do.
How many hours of footage do you go through in one investigation? My friend, I've seen this. I've seen the amount of information Tiny collects. All right. I believe he's done 3 investigations and filled up a terabyte flash or a terabyte hard drive on 3 investigations.
It's huge amounts of data between the audio, video, and anything else. We don't just use equipment either. Slim and myself were doing some woo-woo stuff on a recent investigation, which we apparently caught on camera. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to see that. We had the people watching.
Are you going to post that?
Possibly.
Slim, let me ask you a question. If you could be any cryptid, what would it be?
Ooh, any cryptid. Probably Mothman.
Mothman. Why, a harbinger?
Because he gets to fly around, and who doesn't like that one shot of him on the bridge? It's like...
That is pretty cool. I believe Slim's talking about the Mothman in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Was that 1967?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Tiny, if you could be any cryptid besides the obvious Yeti, what would you be?
He is a Yeti.
I know.
The Jersey Devil.
Ooh, didn't see that one coming. I actually saw that.
Really?
And
I think we need to go and
05. 05, I saw that in Jersey. I was in Cherry Hill. That thing was huge. Had no idea what it was. No idea.
I think he's cool because he can walk up walls. Come on.
Supposedly, he looks like he's got horse hooves. I don't...
Goat hooves.
Goat hooves, horse hooves, whatever. Well...
What about you?
What about me? I'm going to go with my man Squatchy.
Classic.
The foot. But I want, the cool, I want the cool, the biggest Bigfoot, the big guys that are up in the Pacific Northwest. Not the little guys we got around here.
Only the biggest Bigfoot breed.
Yeah, I'm going alpha. If I'm doing it, I'm doing it right. I want to eat a yak for breakfast or something like that.
It's okay. I'll be your air support.
Yeah, that's cool. We can work it out. It'll work. All right, my friends. That is the end of our introductory episode. And just a reminder, we are brought to you by the Asheville Masonic Temple, an event venue located in the heart of downtown Asheville, managed by Shea Brown Events, an event and venue management company. For more information, call 828-239-0928. Ask for Shea Brown. Thank you for listening to Fringe Investigations. Remember, if you or anyone you know has a story they would like to share, or you're interested in being a guest, contact us at 828-782-3766 or 828-484-1637. Our email addresses are ashevillecryptidsociety@gmail.com, cryptidguy001@gmail.com, or mndparanormal@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our next episode. Have a nice day, and remember, keep believing.